part of our conference. I said this morning that there were 3 parts in the afternoon. The workshop was the main part that you've done. And now we're going to be sharing the results of the recommendations that are coming out of these workshops. I see. Okay. I was just requested to slow down. So, if you allow me, let's see now. Yeah? Okay. Please continue your conversation at the table level for 2-3 minutes, and we will then begin. My apologies.
Now on. Yeah, and senior advisor, that's it. Sure.
Guten Tag, good afternoon, welcome back. And this is going to be the real time to do our last session together for this conference. I invite you all to sit down, thank you. And I'd like to introduce my colleague, Professor Muhammad Abu Nimr, who is Senior Advisor here at KAICIID, and also Professor at the American University in Washington, D.C. He will take care of the rest of the program for the afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon. I'd like to welcome everybody back. I see that you did not run away, and that's always a good sign to see you back here after 2 intensive days and a trillion of speeches and the presentation. Thank you for coming back. In particular, we recognize our COP as well, Ambassador of Spain, and Ambassador from the Austrian Foreign Ministry as well, Engine, and welcome them back. They were with us in the first session. I know that yesterday and today, we had limited time for you to give input from the floor. And we did this for various reasons or circumstances. But I know that in the small group discussion for the last 2 hours and a half, you've had intense and some good discussion. And even in a couple of them, you had some good debates. And that's healthy, and that's the purpose of this afternoon. So what we would like to do is really give the floor right now to the 3 groups, and each group will present their recommendations and outcomes. I just want to do 2 ground rules for this conversation. Those are suggestions, and they're not set in stones, and they're not adopted by everyone in the room. This is the product of the small group specific one. So the education, the media, and the religious leader, they are the one who came up with this. You do not have to agree. But what would be helpful if you have a comment or a question, if you kind of phrase it in an open-ended way, rather than try to do the yes and no question. Clarification question would be great. And if there are, and I'm sure there will be overlap, so we would welcome this. The purpose is to present those 3 groups' products, and then hopefully KAICIID staff, KAICIID working group will follow up with them, compile them in one list, and do the follow-up regionally, nationally, as well as individually, as we discussed. Those are the 3 levels: a global, regional, and national, 3 levels for those recommendations. Again, we will compile them afterward and produce them in a proceeding for the conference that will be shared on our website and also with you. So nothing will be lost, and it will be documented, and the level of concrete implementation will depend on KAICIID as well as our partners in this room, and I think all of you are partners of KAICIID and will follow up from there. That's really my only two rules. Open-ended question, and do not feel that you have to agree with every recommendation. It's all up to you. And each group, actually, we're going to give them about 5 to 7 minutes, because I know it's a very short list of recommendations for many of them. We'll start with the group number 1 that deals with religious leaders. I think that would be appropriate. And I think Sheikh Muhammad Ismail from UK is the one who was entrusted in presenting the recommendation. تفضل يا شيخ. 5 to 7 minutes.
Do we have, is it on the screen or? Can we have the PowerPoint? Oh, thank you. Well, basically, the religious leaders group met, and there's a number of recommendations came after the discussion about good practice, where it's happening. For example, an example of UK anti-hate laws, and also after that, people discussed challenges, different challenges in this regard, and then we came to recommendation. Thank you. The very first thing that recommendation comes that adapting relevant laws on national level to counter hate speech and criminalizing hate speech in the media and social media. Obviously, this is a recommendation. As we know that the EU freedom of speech, freedom of expression is very wide, but this is particularly brothers and sisters who were from Arab countries. Oh, sorry, thank you. I didn't realize that it's there, down there. And then the capacity building training, one suggestion was that the KAICIID can organize capacity building facilities, which will be very helpful. And then comes the religious leaders reach out to decision making. So it is very important for religious leaders to reach out to those politicians, people in the government, to ensure that appropriate legislations taking place to eradicate, hate speech. Like, in the United Kingdom, since 2005, recommendation come, but later on, 2014, 15, and under the Prevent agenda, the hate speech was, anti-hate speech or anti-hate speech law was introduced, which is very forcefully recommended. I, for 26 years, worked as a school inspector. Since 2005 up until now, we forced it upon all the seminaries, particularly seminaries who are training imams and all the others, by forcing them to interact, and religious training colleges, whether they were Christian colleges, Jewish colleges, other colleges, that they must interact with other faiths and communities. Working to come with, about the definition. What is the definition of the hate speech exactly? So if we go on the Google, we'll see different definition. And in the EU, obviously, hate speech is a very delicate matter because of the freedom of expression. But this is an area which need looking into by KAICIID. The need to collect and share the best practices and success stories. One of the example, KAICIID example in Myanmar, that somebody was assigned to get nice stories and put it part of the curriculum, which help people to understand each other, community cohesion, raising awareness, and so on and so forth. And then researching and documenting and monitoring relevant statistics on hate speech. And this is very important. UK has started doing that. In the EU, so many countries are doing it, and some are not doing it. Statistics shows us that where the hate speech is going, or the hate speech insult, how much it's affecting the communities. I myself work with the South Yorkshire Police Force, and we continuously monitor the statistics and recognize even the events and incidents happen all around the world, or nationally something happens, and we judge that and prepare ourselves accordingly. Amending a religious curriculum to counter hate speech. So religious curriculum is very important. those religious, for example, we're not talking about general curriculum. We're talking about religious curriculum for religious seminaries. Those that are training imams, religious leaders, Christian religious seminaries, or Jewish religious seminaries, or Muslim religious seminaries, that they must actually include counter-hate speech, pieces of the curriculum, or develop the curriculum in this regard. In collaboration with the UN, adopting a unified textbook with common values to be taught in all schools. So this is something I see in my work with the United Nations, with other countries, with developed countries, with EU, to look into adapting part of a curriculum, which is obviously wider, open, and also adaptable by different countries. Designing programs that are, paying attention to children and upbringing them with stories, I've already said that, and creating a platform and global institution for exchange ideas or on moderation and dialogue. Moderation and dialogue means that improving, like, one of our Sheikh Hakim, said that tahdith is very important. Training and development for imams and religious leaders, for Christian religious leaders, for Jewish religious, for all religious leaders, to coincide with the contemporary issues of our socio-economics and socio-communities, and so on and so forth. And these are actually recommendations. But one of the important things was that, KAICIID, to actually facilitate these trainings nationally, regionally, and also internationally. So these are recommendations. Have I done it in my time?
You've done it in your time and in a perfect pace.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is that enough?
That's enough. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And that's an expectation from religious leader, which usually works. Thank you. Thank you, Sheikh Ismail. I'd like you just to take notes about the list of the recommendations that you've heard. We'll hear from the three sets, and then we'll have an open discussion and conversation about this, rather than take them group by group. And Sheikh Ismail set a good template, a good example for how to do this. The second group is, let's take Patrick McCormick from the media. Media, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Welcome.
My name is Patrick. I'm from Australia, and I'm also part of the World Organisation of the Scout Movement. We're very fortunate as Scouts to be here to learn from the religious leaders, media community, and academics to talk about these important topics in tackling hate speech. Part of the opportunity for us is to bring together those different perspectives and talk about the ways that media can help to counter hate speech. We had 11 recommendations, but believe me, we had very many more. There were some excellent ideas shared within the group, and we have tried to distill that down just to present 11 out of the 23. So, the first one, we started by wanting to map. We wanted to bring together all the different ideas internationally and regionally on existing initiatives to counter hate speech so we could maximise our efforts and the resources that we have. This would make sure we are being most effective and using the value of the things that we have already developed. The next is the recommendation to establish an expert group, which would include media, religious community, and others to gather existing expertise on hate speech, to inform best practice, and to see what is the most useful approach to tackle it. We would take into account the victim's perspective, which is very important in deciding on the action plan and including on the approach, because for media campaigns, we need to consider those that have suffered the trauma of hate speech and make sure that we consider that in our approach to talking about hate speech. Next, we suggested that we should develop a code of ethics. This is both for journalists and social media actors. So us as individuals that believe that we have positive messages to share to counter hate speech, we should be able to sign up to this. And for the social media actors, this could be self-policing. So those that sign up and commit can help to keep each other within the code. Use the Wikipedia model, we would say. The next is training of religious leaders so they know how to moderate and monitor their social media channels, and they also learn how to respond to hate speech incidents. All of us have a role in media, including the religious leaders within their communities. Next, please. The next one, again around training. This is a training and fellowship program for current journalists, those who are already trained and working as journalists, so they can help to counter hate speech. Part of this would include online learning and also having a guide or glossary so journalists can ensure that they are trained on how to avoid hate speech and how to speak respectfully. Next, we have a recommendation for... sweet, thank you. The next one is to participate in mainstream media and visibility, so we can encourage religious leaders to feature in local media outlets to counter ignorance and hate speech. This ensures plurality. It ensures that we show the diversity of faith within our different communities, and it is demonstrated to our communities. The next one is to establish an interfaith social media channel. So, for example, using YouTube and other social media platforms like Snapchat that are appropriate to the audience, to ensure that we avoid a single faith voice and thereby ensure diverse visual representation and positive role models. Last page, we have a recommendation that journalism curricula should include countering hate speech, professionalism and ethics. And where appropriate, some of these topics could also be told to those in high schools and primary schools to make sure that we all take a responsible approach to tackling hate speech. Then, training the young people. We should ensure that we have training for young people so they can use social media, maybe becoming influencers, so they can share positive messages and help to tackle hate speech. Not just find hate speech, but help to counter that and make sure we have more positive voices. There is possibility for a yearly award for journalists who work or write on countering hate speech to ensure that we recognise and reward those that take a positive influence on society to tackle hate speech. And lastly, we suggest that governments should review their legislation to ensure that there is a fair balance between freedom of expression and freedom from hate speech. We all have the right to be protected from discrimination. We should ensure that there is a good balance, because in some of our countries, we do not have that balance right. And as the media changes and social media becomes bigger, we should make sure that those laws are reviewed. That is all from our group. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Patrick. Very specific as well and very practical. There's lots of overlap with the training component. If you notice, please make note of the comments that you have. Our third group is actually had a split along the linguistic line, the Arabic and the English. So they have two reports, two groups, one in Arabic and one in English. And I think we can compare to see which one is, actually, let's not do competition. We'll listen to the two of them, but instead of giving each one of them 5 minutes, we'll give each one of them 3 minutes to be fair with the other group. Please, you doing the Arabic group.
Okay.
Yes.
Greetings to all of you. Good day to all of you. I will try to summarize. There are many things that interject and interact in what the groups of the religious leaders and media have said. The most important thing is the role of upbringing, as you have said, Professor Mohammed Abu Nimr. What we saw is upbringing is a process that takes the effort of all components of the society. So I will summarize what we recommend for each component. We have firstly the state with its institutions, then we have the religious institutions with its leaders and places of worship. Then we have the educational institutions like schools and universities and all the clubs. Then we have to talk about the curricula of those institutions. The responsibility of the state is that the state should have policies, because we are of the conviction that there is no change without policies. The state must be convinced that not only the civic society must act, but also that the state must act with policies to reach important outcomes. When the state formulates what kind of citizen and what kind of equal citizenship it wants, then we can see changes, real changes in all curricula, not only in the religious subject, but also in all the other subjects, so not to erode the achievements we do in the religion subject. So this is the first recommendation, is the producing a guideline on curricula and monitoring those new curricula. We have also noticed that education is the best for uprearing. From the religious institutions, we are asking that the training of the new cadre of religious leadership should be put in a way to foster dialogue and foster open-mindedness and coexistence. We also have noticed that there are many clashes within the societies. We have talked in Arabic, and I want to stress what the colleagues say, that in our societies, Arab societies, many people migrate to Europe, and there happens a clash in the new generations. There's a clash between what they are being raised upon in their home and what they are hearing in the societies and in the schools of the hosting countries. And so we have to see how we can solve this clash. The most important thing is that we talk about the citizenship in each country, but also the common citizenship in humanity as a whole. Wherever I may be, I have my own values, but that are included in respecting the other and living with the other. Also, we have talked about absence in schools, that many children do not attend schools, and they are thus recruited from extremist groups and from incitement groups. So the country must have a policy to make sure that all children will attend schools from an early age and will stick to attending the school. I'm sorry that I'm talking all around the place, but these are the most important recommendations, and thank you.
A group for the education, David Braha and Eileen Lim from the Scout are concluding with the education.
Yeah.
3 minutes.
Yeah, okay. So the first challenge is prejudice and stereotypes. We have one recommendation for that, which is creating space for intercultural exchange in communities and schools. For instance, integration of curriculum, including participatory methods and experimental learning methods, or showing films, cultural exchange, field trips.
All right, so the next challenge that we identified was the fact that we needed to change the approach to education, to make education more relevant to the context of today, to the context of globalization. And the recommendation that we propose is to introduce policy framework and pedagogical learning, particularly in experimental learning. So the youth will learn as they continue to do and as they continue to practice these exercises. Essentially, this would include also implementing reflective learning practices and non-formal and formal education. This reflectivity in young people is important. Why? So that they can contextualize religious understanding better and develop a mutual sense of camaraderie. Okay.
Our third challenge is the lack of capacity in dialogue, as in many people don't have the abilities or the skills to conduct and to teach dialogue. So our recommendation number 3 is to build capacity of teachers in intercultural and interreligious dialogue. In Vienna, KAICIID network for dialogue to organize events with teachers. KAICIID fellows to visit schools and conduct face-to-face informal sessions with students and teachers, and linking formal and informal institutions.
Lastly, the last challenge that we identified was that there is a disconnect between the family and school institutes, as well as between adults and young people. So in order to bridge this understanding, we divided it into two. The recommendations is for the family and schools, we use ambassadors from NGOs, CSOs, or successful individuals to facilitate this relationship in order to also reduce the burden on the educational institute. Next, in providing better adult-youth understanding, we hope to create dialogue in a cooperative space so that adults can share wisdom with young people, and young people can share the creativity and the dynamic energy that they have in order to create mutual trust and understanding. Thank you.
Thank you. This is indeed marathonic presentation. We managed to present the work of 2 days and 2 hours discussion in about 16 minutes. So thank you. Now what we will do, we know the concluding session was supposed to start at 5:30, but with your permission, we'll take another 15 minutes, and then because we started half an hour at least late to this session. We'll take about 20 minutes, 15 minutes to 20 to get your responses and your comments, not necessarily to change the language or the text, because we're not drafting a text, but to see if there is a gap, if there's something that they forgot, or something that you think worth highlighting from your perspective. And to give you some time to think about this and reflect, I have been asked several times during yesterday and today from Mr. حكيم عمايري رئيس ديوان وزير الشؤون الدينية بتونس ممثل جمهورية تونس,
who is the representative of the Ministry for Religious Affairs in Tunisia.
For that. So I'm going to do a 3 minutes intervention, 4 minutes intervention. He already bargaining from the floor. But meanwhile, we will give you the suggestion, sorry, the comments. Yes, yes, and that will be.
Thank you. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim.
In the name of God Almighty, the most merciful, may peace be on Prophet Muhammad, on his family, and on his followers, and on all other prophets. Ladies and gentlemen, excellencies, eminencies, first of all, let me thank and express my gratitude to KAICIID for this invitation. Let me also thank His Excellency Faisal bin Ma'mar, the Secretary General, to grant me this opportunity. Speaking about Tunisia today, so many speak about the Tunisian experience when moving, having a democratic move, having a democratic change. But many people do not know that we do have values in society in countering hate speech. This is found in the Constitution of 2014. And also, as you know, that the Quartet of Dialogue received the Nobel Prize in 2015. And the former president, may peace be upon him and rest his soul, Said Essebsi, was able to take power within quite a short time. And also we had presidential elections, which led to the election of Mr. Jalil as president, though the parliamentary elections Mr. Tarjuman said this morning that we might still experience some miscommunication, but nevertheless, we shall not fall back to violence in Tunisia. This is in the past because we have a society asking how and asking why. And this is due because we succeeded in consolidating the values of tolerance and mutual understanding during the past decades and past centuries even. Also, the government, the state of Tunisia succeeded, for instance, in its first constitution, which was the first constitution in the Arab world, the Constitution of 1865, we have a certain article speaking about encountering hate speech and also dealing with hate speech. And in 1958, we had a new constitution, and there it said that we have different religions and all religions shall be dealt with as the same, and also that the Vatican is given the right to take care of and service the Christian community in Tunisia. The new constitution now, we have Article number 6, which is in the first chapter, which comprise the major principles of the institution of the constitution, that it's on the state, that the state is asked and has to and is asked to encounter hate speech, to prosecute hate speech, to criminalize hate speech. And this was our constitution of 2014, as I said. Then it was very important also to have the legal side, that is, we had laws in force, or have laws in force, going back to 2015, which regards the hate speech as a terroristic crime, and which is people can be convicted for hate speech from 5 to 15 years in prison, and are asked to pay from 1 to 5 years in prison, and are asked to pay fines from 5 to 15,000 Tunisian dinar. That is, hate speech is absolutely criminalized. It's looked at as being a terroristic crime. So we do have the law, we do have the constitution, and then we have our government who asked all ministries to work on dialogue between religions and also to have a Tunisian charter on peaceful coexistence and to have a charter of Imam al-Khatib also stating how important coexistence is. We have this charter. This charter was agreed upon not long ago, and it also points out that it is necessary for the state, for the people, for society to counter hate speech. Please let me quote with KAICIID's letters. As K, I use the Arabic word kalam, which are words. And then I start off again, al-Islam as A. Now, Islam, Judaism, and Christianity are not different. Peace and countering hate are the objectives of all religions in order to work for peace. We come together for peace and for fighting evil. Thank you very much.
As the Tunisian case did, it's good to do national statement, the Tunisian ميثاق تونس للتعايش, national coexistence, and the dessert was an Arabic poetry using all the letters of KAICIID. So that's a nice addition. Let's take some responses about the recommendation after we heard this inspiring message. Yes, but this will be برقية, يعني مثل lightning, right?
Yeah. Thank you very much. When we heard the recommendations, a lot of recommendations, so it will be impossible to realize what was said. I think we have to focus on 2 or 3 at least, يعني to maximum these recommendations. I highly recommend to adopt a code of ethics for media. This is the first one. And the second one, why we don't start thinking about a common religious satellite television. We have Christian televisions, we have Muslim televisions. Why we don't have one television for everybody, interreligious dialogue and harmony? Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll go all the way back and then we'll come to the front. We usually go ahead. And I have 3 men in line, so just alerting you. 3 men in line. So this is a message to those who are not men who would like to talk. Yes. Yes, please. Yes, thank you.
Thank you for giving me the words, and I would like again to thank His Excellency Mr. Faisal bin Muammar. And I would like to thank also the teamwork and the professors working in KAICIID for a wonderful job. I would like the audience to give a hand for you and all the people working for KAICIID. Thank you very much. Like you said, I just would like to say 2 points. Point number 1, regarding the First Religion group, they did an excellent job. But I would like to add, when we're talking about our children, for example, my children, long time ago, there was some cartoons about Moses and Joseph. And they never forget this story. Sometimes in our Muslim society, we forbid that any prophet can be shown in the movies. I would like to rethink about that, because these cartoons explain the stories in a very nice way. The second thing, I would love our children in the Arab world not only to speak in Arabic, I would like them to have at least 3 languages. I have my doctorate degree from the United States. Now, at the end of my career, I would think that knowing more language is much better than having a doctorate degree. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other input? Sanusi? Dr. Sanusi?
Thank you so much, Professor Abu Nimir. I just want to talk about the first recommendations for the religious leaders.
Yes.
And when I look through the recommendations, obviously, whatever written in the recommendations is already included in the United Nations Plan of Action for religious leaders and actors to counter hate speech. This is already existing plan of action, already endorsed and adopted by the United Nations, and for that reason, the member states, and produced by religious leaders after a consultation, as we heard yesterday, from around the world. So it's already ready for us. It has all the aspects, media, communications, everything. So my recommendation would be, we don't need to reinvent the wheel. Look into that plan of action and just commit to implement the plan of action by increasing the capacity of religious actors in collaboration with KAICIID and the United Nations. And basically that is also going to help to implement other aspect of the United Nations, and that is SDG 17, which is talking about partnership between civil society and government. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Sanusi, and this is good also for advice for KAICIID, which we will follow, that we don't invent the wheel. We will usually work with partners and find ways to strengthen their work as well as ours. Any other input from any other of the individuals or tables? We must have exhausted you. Yes, Mabruka. Yes, I see Reverend is pushing Mabruka's hand. Mabruka, you will speak.
I will speak for the European context because I am here and I can only speak about my context where I am. I think the main thing is that we contextualize our religion understanding. Otherwise, we will give our children something with which they can't do anything. And so there is the gap between what the parents want to give or the religious leaders and what the youth are aspiring to do. This is very important. And now the other point from my sister. Okay.
I see that there is a conspiracy here. Yes.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Okay. We have.
Go ahead, Reverend.
I would like to add, and this comes from the Finnish context. I visit a lot religious places, especially minorities, and I have recognized that I seldom meet women there. And one of the reasons is that there is no place for women to practice the faith. And if we are talking about the education and peace education and all of that, how we can lack women, how they are outside of the mosques, for example. There is no place for women because there is no room. They don't have special places at all. So I would like to do some mapping and really make a research. What are the affections about this kind of a thing that you don't see women practicing the faith in the mosque because there's no place for them?
Thank you. Yes, Masroor. And Masroor will be the last one if no hands.
شكرا دكتور. أنا أتمنى
Thank you, Professor. I would wish for the conference to make the points for next conferences, to name this conference as KAICIID is. I would have wished that we could have stood up 1 minute in remembrance of the victims of hate speech as to send a message into the world, a message of support for victims of hate speech, and that they can feel, their relatives can feel that there are people working on countering hate speech and on solving great problems in this world. So I suggest that there be a minute of silence for the victims of hate speech. Thank you.
Two suggestions quickly if the translation did not make it. The first one is to say this is the first annual hate speech conference, and there should be second one next year in order to hold KAICIID accountable for, for the implementation, but also for us to follow up with our action. The accountability aspect I've added, Masroor said, so we can measure what we have done. The second one, Masroor says, regardless the faith of the victims of hate speech, he suggests if you want to take a few seconds to stand to commemorate, honor those victims of hate speech around the world from the different faith group. Would you like? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Masroor, for this. Maybe this is the only time during those 2 days where we filled it with words, and without words, in silence, maybe we connected for a few seconds even more. Thank you. I'd like to just, before we end and move to the closing, there is a form of evaluation that Dima, our program officer, put on your table. Please do not leave if you don't, maybe before you leave, do not leave without it, but before you leave, fill out the form. Yes, those who did not, please fill it out in English or Arabic would be much appreciated. And thank you again. Mr. Secretary General, would you like to join us with the board member for the closing ceremony?
We don't need them anymore. They can turn it off.
Well, assalamu alaikum. Good evening, everybody, ladies and gentlemen. It's only going to take us maybe between 2 to 3 hours, so accept it. Dr. Abu Nimr, he was going to take, I think we should charge him for what he did. But I am so happy that we are now in the closing moment of this important gathering. I will have my final remarks after the comments from board members. Well, I don't know if we are lucky or not. We were supposed to be 9 members of the board, but our board, they have so many responsibilities, and they had some of them after attending yesterday the board and the council meeting, and also attending the opening and attending some of the panels with us, they had to leave. But we have 3 of them, and I can tell you also they are very powerful. We have His Eminence Metropolitan Emmanuel, and Dr. Aram in my right hand, and Dr. Muhammad al-Sammak. So I am going to give them a chance to deliver their comments about the conference, and I will do my final remarks after them. I promise that we will be on time, and hopefully we will not take much of your time. So let's start with Dr. Aram. It's up to you. It's up to you.
I thank the Secretary General for having us over for the closing. Just 3 or 4 thoughts. I think the 3 of us who are here from the board are the lucky members, because not often in a session where you look back, have all these suggestions and inputs taken from the floor, and Professor Abu Nimr had a quiet moment. So I think we are the lucky ones, Secretary General. The 4 things that I wanted to say should start off with a little sharing. I am a practitioner of medicine and child health, and I teach students. And I remember many years ago in the classroom asking and urging my medical students to go and listen to a wise person. And they were all smiling, and they were not signing up to go and see this person. So I said, but why aren't you going? This is such an important person, someone who has words of wisdom and years of experience. And then they looked at me and they said, ma'am, we would have gone, but very often these people are members of the NATO alliance. And I said, what is the NATO alliance? Not the usual NATO alliance that you think about. They said, no action, talking only. No action, talking only. But I think in these 2 days, what you saw in this wonderful confluence of mind and ideas and interactions was the relevance of KAICIID. The relevance of KAICIID is to bring people together, people representing faith traditions, people representing nation states, to think of issues that confront us. And normal and benign as it seems sometimes, the power of the word, we have seen how words can not only create hate, words can take lives. And that is why I think this alliance is an alliance of committed people, but I hope this alliance will also be people to whom the young people will look up and say, they not only spoke, they not only dialogued, they are doing something for the peace of this world. So remember, the young people are watching us. And the second thing I think that I want to share is these two young people who represented the scouts, the young lady and the young man, who spoke about dialogue. And I don't know if you heard them. They were very careful in their choice of words. They said the wisdom of the elders and the creativity of the young people. I want to tell the young people there's creativity on both sides, there's wisdom on both sides, and there's energy on both sides because it is a common humanity that we work with. I hope in this hall, but also in your own communities, you will find allies. This morning, when our colleague from the communications section, Martin, was moderating the panel, the young lady said, the world is watching you, take charge. And like we tell young people to learn, I think we have to take the time to learn, to understand how this world of hate speech has started affecting all our lives. Whether we live in Asia or we live in America, whether we live in Europe, it is a pandemic. It is a pandemic of violence. It's not just hate speech, it's a pandemic of violence that has the roots in the very things that causes physical violence: disrespect, lack of empathy, the fear of the other. All of these can fluent violence in many different ways, and hate speech and hate-related violence is one of them. The third and the final thing is investing in it. I come from the land of Mahatma Gandhi, and Mahatma Gandhi said, where there is love, where there is compassion, where there is kindness, life will flourish. We have to remind ourselves of this joy of being a human community. Not only connected online, but connected as human beings. Connected by values, but connected by also constructed experiences of joy, so that joy and happiness need not be mentioned in the past tense. Joy and happiness can be presented in the present tense. And this is where, to my two sisters from Finland and from Austria, I want you to say, I want you to ask, why are some people missing in the table? When the opportunity comes, women must not hesitate to take their roles. My own friend from Tunisia, Zia, who was the deputy speaker there, spoke just a few months ago where our Secretary General was elected as honorary president in Lindau. And she said, let us not forget that women have a very active role in taking faith to their own families and to their communities. Today, men and women have to share this responsibility. A table that doesn't have a woman present is a table that is poorer by the vision of a woman. A conference that does not bring in the voices and the aspirations of the young is not a conference that represents the world. And I am very proud to say, as a board of director, that in these 2 days, in every single panel, I found men and women. The balance can be better, but the direction is right. I found young people taking charge. This is the experience that we must have in our own communities. We have to open the doors as much as we knock the doors to say that together, we can make this world better. And the fourth and the concluding point is that just like science is studied systematically, just like theology is studied systematically, today we know peace can be studied and peace can be built systematically. And I want to acknowledge the very inspiring address of Professor Abadi from Morocco when he spoke about the economics of war and peace. I hope we will remember this as well, that peace is not a sentiment. Peace is something that we can construct together. And we at KAICIID, all of us together, I think, are here not just for dialogue as a means, but peace as a true end and a true experience of the 21st century human community. Thank you very much for this opportunity, and thank you, Secretary General.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Thank you very much. We are proud of you. May I ask His Excellency, His Eminence Metropolitan Emmanuel to deliver his speech also. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. It has been indeed a great pleasure for all of us to come together and to witness together that we are the powerful ones. And we have the power, and we show this power through our words and through our action. KAICIID, as you know, it's a platform. It's an idea that came through, and it's a place where you come and we come from all sides of the world to show that we have the power to change what needs to be changed in the world. The original idea of the hate speech, how can we eliminate hate speech around the world? We are both probably victims sometimes of hate speech. And this is easy to happen today. And we need to realize that we are fragile. We have the power, but as you've heard earlier, the limits between freedom of expression and hate speech are very small, those limits. And we need to realize that. We need to bring the good word to the world. We don't need fake news, and we all know that. Fake news, populism leads to hate crimes. We all witness that every day. So the hate speech that we have come here on the initiative of KAICIID once more is something that is in our hands. I think this is not over. I'm very glad that the room is almost full. It's not empty at the end of a conference. Your attention, your participation, the interest that you show gives us the hope of a continuation. And we need to continue, and we will continue. Because we believe in what we are doing. We believe that if we love our world, if we really love each other, and if we need to bring a hope for a better world, we need to work together. All of us, from different religious perspectives, people of goodwill, can make a better future with the power of the words and with the power that it's in our hands. And we can, yes, we really can, shake the world, shape the world, and make a better world for tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Eminence. Now I ask His Excellency Dr. Mohammed Al-Sammak to give us some of his wisdom. Please.
Well, dear brothers and sisters, the topic you were engaged for the last 2 days is as old as humanity. Us versus them. That's the old issue. But let me underline this idea I have of, in our religious traditions, the Abrahamic tradition. It all started when God created Adam. God created Adam out of sand and mud, as it is in our religious text. And then asked the angels to kneel down in respect to Adam. They all obeyed except Satan, who said, how can I bow? How can I kneel to someone you created out of sand, and I am created out of light? That was the first hate speech ever. And it is going on, based on differences of ethnicity, culture, religion, whatsoever. The point here, which I'm trying to show it, that Satan was, by orders of God, kicked out of heaven. This means that hate speech has no place in heaven. And it is satanic. And those who use hate speech are satanic. And they have to be very careful. They will have no place in heaven. This is our Abrahamic teachings. We all agree on this principle. But we never thought of it like this. Now that hate speech is all over, we have to find some fundamental basis to follow from our scripture. Well, humans are meaning-seeking animals. We live in a century that has left us with a maximum of choice and a minimum of meaning. The secular substitutes for religion, nationalism, racism, and political ideology have all led to disaster. So many flock to religion, some to extremist forms. The point is that we have too much religion and too little spirituality. That's why we are misleading ourselves. We don't know, religion in itself, without spirituality is in the core of religion. When we forget spirituality, what remains will be catastrophe. So I don't want, after 2 days of speaking, just to make a new lecture or a new contribution, but just to say that there is an important book written by an American sociologist. His name is Yoran Hazong. He notices that there are moral conflict between two beautiful traditions in the same nation, in the same people. A citizen believes that his tradition is the best, and the other tradition is nothing. But in the other tradition, there are beautiful ideas, as well as in the other tradition. but we cannot see it. Now, if we try to see the beauty of the other, I think we can avoid much of our differences, and hate will never erupt between us. In the 4th century BC, Aristotle coined the term political animal, a term meant to separate humans from other animals. For him, the logos, or the faculty of speech, meant not only speech, but reason. Hate speech has no reason. There is no reason in hate speech. So it is an animal, it is satanic, and it is out of God's mercy. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Muhammad. I just want to set up a code with Dr. Abu Nimr. If I exceed my time, just, do something with your glasses. So, it's a code between us. Nobody knows about it, okay? What I want really to say, it's hard to deliver a speech after our board because I'm going to be under evaluation from them. I don't know if they are going to extend my contract or promote me or not, so please forgive me. I can see from the energy you have that you still want to stay with us. And we love you. We want you to be with us. And we think that is one of the most successful event we organized is this one, for many reasons. When we planned to do it, the location was Beirut, under the Arab platform. And the discussion was, how to do it and how many, is it only Arabs or, so shall we invite some international speakers? Anyway, I don't know what happened to us, but it was like under certain circumstances. I was with our deputy, Ambassador Alvaro, he is here, and our team, senior advisors, we talked and we said, why not in Vienna? Let us try to do something in Vienna. Time, it could be very good. We want to test the power of the word, especially this time. We need it. We need to exercise the positive value of the power of the word. Is it going to work or not? So it was really for us, high risk, it could be. But we know that there are so many good people in the world. Whether we're, I can tell you the truth, we are sailing against the wind. And if we are not careful, we might sink. So what to do? I can tell you, we started 2005, it took us 7 years to establish KAICIID. The initiative came from the holy city of Mecca. It was led by the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And then the Pope and the custodian of the two holy mosques, they joined hands. The Kingdom of Spain joined the Republic of Austria. We are grateful to all of them. We have the ambassador of the Kingdom of Spain. We are grateful to your support. And we have Ambassador Njain with us today. Thank you, Ambassador. And we have the support of Saudi Arabia, the Holy See, and also we have really an Olympic team of the board, Muslim, Christian, Jewish, Buddhist, Hindus. We have the advisory council representing 11 faiths. We have more than that. We have the fellows from 59 countries, and their graduation is going to be 12th of December. We have our staff, and our staff, they are the one who made everything. 64 members of KAICIID coming from 30 countries. That's why we call ourselves an international organization. I am grateful to our Council of Party, our Board of Directors, but the most important, thanks, I should send it to our staff, all of our staff. And when we, as I told you, when we started thinking about it, we said, well, we send the invitation, we will see the response. Are we going to get the target number of participants we need? Well, the response was overwhelming. We couldn't believe it. Why they want to participate? Not because they want to visit Vienna and enjoy the lovely city of Vienna. It's one of the best cities to visit. But you know they are deep believer of the power of the word, the power of words. It's really very important for us to unite ourselves. We have our 5 platforms all over the world. But what is the style of KAICIID? What is the secret of KAICIID as an IGO? I can tell you something from watching the recommendations, grateful to all the work has been done in the workshops. Our style is implementation. We don't want to take your recommendations and just keep it on the shelf until next year to session number 2. And when my brother, Dr. Mohammed Al-Sunusi, talked about how to align our work with the plan of action, I can tell you a secret. We did it yesterday already. We had very good meeting with His Excellency Adam Young, and we talked about this. And we decided to review and to do something, and we will never forget the start with Dr. Al-Abbadi in Morocco. It was really an excellent journey to start the plan of action, and now to start the second phase, we call it, from the plan of action, which is this hate speeches, or the role of religion and media and policymakers in fighting hate speeches, or whatever we call it. One thing I want to say that everybody knows that we are going through some, what do you call it? I will say strong wind against our sailing, and we are trying to balance ourselves the way we should be. People ask me, they said, wow, God, you are still surviving. I mean, what is this? We thought you are closed. My comments to some of the media representatives yesterday, in fact, we are not closing, we are growing. We are increasing. We are expanding all over the world. And that's what we will do. This is for us. It took us 7 years to establish the center. Now, since we opened 2012, we are in the year of the end of the 2019. So we are still young. We want to grow. We want to be strong, and we want to serve humanity. And we call ourselves the servant of humanity. And we will do it through all our partners, all our participants from everywhere in the world. That's why we are proud of you. I don't want to take too much of your time, but I am going to ask some of our staff really who did excellent job. I would like you to just give them a hand, because they did fantastic job with us. So let's start with our event members, Karina, Shireen, where are you? Come to the stage, please. Everybody, come, everybody who, I need you to be with us here. I didn't have to call your name, come please. Sharina, come. By the way, Sharina, she lost her voice, she cannot talk anyway more, please. Georgina, Baha, Julia, come, everybody come. Anas, Bisan, Arwa, Wasim, Dima, Communication Director Martin, Marcelak. Where are the others? Please. Dina, come, why are you shy? Martin, where is Martin? Please come, just, be. Who else? Dr. Abanemir, you are the boss in this. We still have some missing. Martin, oh, Martin. Come, please. 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 Well, I have. Well, can I ask you, Ambassador Alvaro, join us, please? Go inside. Go the other side, please. Go on the other side. Ambassador Demetra. Oh, Professor Patrice. Please go inside, please. Well, I have also my assistants. I don't know if they want to come. Khalid and Dori. No? Yeah. Please. Well, we can go to the Olympic Games, Anyway, you can see, you see the people who really organized this conference in 2 months, okay? They did their best, but also we are supported by the rest of the staff at the center. They are supporting us, they are helping us. And in 2 months, we made miracle, to do this conference. It's not easy to organize something. We are grateful to Ambassador Njai and also who really facilitated the visas for you. So thank you. We have a SLT team in the center. They did their best, to oversee the programs and other things, and it was really excellent work. I think you are happy. It seems that you are happy about the product of what we did, so we can do a lot. Finally, don't look at me as one, I will tell you the truth. My role was only limited to 3 or 4 things. I was the one who moved the event from Beirut to Vienna, and maybe I will explain this later. It will be in my diary. Second, I shared with them naming this event. And third thing, which is just like praying for them every morning, saying, God bless you all, just do whatever you want. So they did excellent work, and we are proud of them. We are proud of what we did so far in KAICIID. I can promise you, through religious leaders and through media partners and through our partnership with policymakers, we will do a miracle to help and to implement your wishes. This is what we can do. We do want to expand in areas where we cannot do it, but we are grateful to the presence of President Fisher, yesterday. He was really a remarkable man. I call him a hero of dialogue, and I call him a messenger of peace. And he did really something. I was deeply touched by his presence and his support and his interviews. And the support I have from His Royal Highness, the Ambassador of Saudi Arabia, Prince Abdullah, and Cardinal Ayuso. I think they were planning to be with us, but you know they have other business to do. We are grateful to them. Finally, we are grateful to the media who were, well, I will say, they did more than what we expected. The coverage of the media was, I will say, whether it's with us or if they are trying to, you know, to touch us in different ways, oh, it's okay. We cannot succeed without media, so they are our partners. We are grateful to anyone who wrote any single word about this conference, helping us to promote the power of words in a positive way. This is very important for us. We are also thankful to the translators. Where are they? They are somewhere, you know, who are really dedicated. Our staff, this hotel, I think they did their best also. We are thankful to them. We are thankful to the drivers, to everybody who did any service to you and to us. So this is really one of the things I would like to say. I don't know why I want to thank everybody. I hope it's not my last words in conferences, but you know, the only one who is going to celebrate the end of this conference is my wife. So she is also asking me some questions. I answer her in a wrong way, so it's just a family problem. So don't worry about it. Someone talk about a woman in mosques or something, so I just would like to make a comment. KAICIID started with the United Nations last year, well, one of the events called Women of Faith, and we are going to continue on this. So to show you how much we care about women, and in our center, women are exceeding, female are exceeding male. So we are in KAICIID, you know, very strong supporter for females. Well, this is the final of my word. Thank you millions of times. Thank you for what you did for us. We wish you a safe trip, and please, please be in touch with us. You will see more and more. Thank you very much.
A few announcements. Thank you. The dinner 6:30 exactly now at the first floor.